11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Ferraro won it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
Thanks to those joining me live, those have been joining me on the archive. Um, this video specifically are going to be my final thoughts, just with everything Australia in terms of boxing, and not everything, of course, just for whatever I get to today. That'll probably be it for the rest of the year. I have others. I'm not going to be done talking boxing. Just a lot of world boxing to talk about after this, but I just wanted to do this because yesterday, unexpectedly, I had two responses from two individuals from Australia. One's a promoter, one's a fighter. Shout out to them, but we're going to talk about it because that's what I do. So it is what it is. So I hope everybody is good. I hope you hit the like button. If you're not interested in Australian boxing, you should anyway, and just tune in anyway. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, mate. All right. So with that said, shout out to Remy and Drunk Irish Man, all that good stuff. A lot I want to talk about. Obviously, you guys know, Shanika Johnson defended her, her 4 belts, the undisputed crown on the MVP undercard. She did her thing. It was a pretty good fight, a bloody affair, a head clash, looks to cause the cut. But, they went through it. She won that. So shout out to her. Okay, on getting that W. I got to fix my mic here. My mic is falling apart. Like, what's going on over here, brother? You know what I mean? There we go. I think that should do the trick right there. I think. All right. My mic, it was falling apart. Like it was like I don't know what was going on. Like I mean, I'm just saying. It was literally going down under. Like you know what I mean. I think the mic misunderstood what's going on here. All right. It's like we're supposed to be upside down, mate. Like and I'm like, nah, bro, we're not literally in Australia. Like, what are you doing? But with that said, George Rose, the promoter of No Limit, responded to some of my critiques on X, so I'm going to address it in the best way I can under the mic, and of course I'm going to double down respectfully, but I'm going to do it. And also, Kaye Scott took issue with some things I said, so we're going to touch on that, of course. All right, so. Which one should I start with? Like, you know what I mean? I guess whatever pops up first, I guess, like on this side over here. So, I guess we'll start off with this part right here. I guess I guess we'll start with whatever pops up first. George Rose had tweeted this out. And he said, this is the promoter, No Limit, by the way. Great week for Australian boxing. Tim Tszyu returned with a great night of fights Wednesday. Then huge performances for Shanika Johnson, Dillian Biggs, and new world champion Kaye Scott today. Great end to the year, Aussie boxing, right? And obviously I did not start a lot of the things that were said, but this individual, Kyle Champion, responded. He said, any thought on signing more women for No Limit stable, George? And he said that there's a few I'm interested in. Love what MVP is doing in the space, though, and it's providing the biggest opportunities for our best women too. And any chance you want to team up for a big women's card in Australia? He did not respond to that. And somebody brought up that he won't bring up Joe Apatai's name. In fairness, he's not Jai Opatai's promoter, but you know, it just is what it is. Jai Apatai, of course, is in my opinion, the best pound for pound boxer out of Australia today. And if you're going to be shouting out a lot of these other fighters, maybe you should be shouting out Jaya Pataya, but that's not here nor there. Like, I'm not going to critique George Rose for not shouting him out. He gave his reasoning and all that. But so I responded to George. He responded to me, right? And here is the kind of the crux of it. I had mentioned that No Limit is essentially, I'm not saying like 100%, but they basically dropped their female fighters, okay? They'll rather spend money on guys like Jarvis. Now, look, I'm not trying to like pick on Brock Jarvis, okay? I'm not here like Brock Jarvis, just a fighter. He's just the guy that came to mind, right? I don't remember the other dudes that nobody cares about names just off the top of my head. So it's just what it is, all right? But I had more to say, obviously, and I brought up, you know, Twitter is just weird, bro. Like I don't understand how this works sometimes, right? No Limit could have had Jazzy versus Solomon. They didn't. Kaye Scott, really, they should be in a driver's seat to put that for Undisputed, but they didn't, right? And I made the point that having a better matchmaker and a better vision, right? And I just think that that's something they need. I mentioned that they're not going to have the shotgun O'Connell versus Dargan fight, which makes all the sense in the world to me. But for whatever reason, a smaller promotional company is going to put it on. But apparently, No Limit, I don't know. I guess they can't afford it. I guess they got better fights to put on. I don't really buy that. When you look at their cards, a lot of these fights, not all of them, of course, but a lot of them just are head scratchers. I'm just saying. And Shotgun versus Jazzy was voted the fight of the year for females last year in Australia, right? That's what the fans voted. Their final card was Saved by Women last year. Like, if you remember, the Kaye Scott fight, O'Connell, Jazzy Parr, those women saved that event. They put on the best fights that night too. Like, you know what I mean? And what did they do? What did No Limit do? Nothing. They did nothing with it. They did nothing with that merit, right? They did nothing to build upon that momentum. They did absolutely nothing with it, right? Nothing. And I wonder, like, why, right? Why is it that No Limit did nothing with the momentum, right? It's just a critique of mine, right? I didn't expect him to respond, but he did, right? And basically he responded with this: if social clicks were the only measure of success of a successful show, yes, matchmaking will look very different. Thanks for following our social media channels, right? But I'm not talking about the No Limit, which is true. The No Limit pages definitely got more traffic due to that fight. However, I'm not just talking about that. I'm just talking in general, right? Like social media in general, outside of your social media pages, because your social media pages aren't really big, actually, right? So just in general, right? It got more traction and attention. Therefore, I gave my response. And maybe that's true for a main event, right? You're the one that put Jarvis in the main event in basically a mismatch in a fight that, frankly, nobody cared about. That was your headliner. That's the fight you decided to put on, right? To headline the show. And it didn't really do very well. Like, I saw the empty seats in a very small arena throughout the whole card, right? It's not like this, like you did this great job with it, but that's not here nor there, right? But if an undercard fight is getting more traction and attention, right, then maybe you're not making the right moves here. Like it's just an observation. It's just something that I noticed. That's about it. At the end of the day, right? And maybe if we give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe he tried hard, right? Maybe he put a lot of effort and they just didn't materialize. But here's the reality of the situation, all right? The reality of the situation is, shout out to Apple Time, Merry Christmas, brother. The reality of the situation is this. Look, I'm not saying that half of your fights have to be female fights. All right. I'm not saying you have to put the same amount of emphasis and effort as MVP, right? I'm not saying that you have to headline with the women, or like, that's not even what I'm saying, right? What I'm telling you is that I think some of these women fights will be better headliners than the ones you've actually put on, right? Some of these women fights would have been better on the undercard, right? It would have gotten more notoriety for No Limit than some of these male fights, frankly, that you've been putting on, right? Like this idea that you don't have room to do it, right? This idea that, like, I mean, by golly gee, it's just nothing we could do, right? We tried very hard, but we just, like, it just is what it is. You know what I mean? So if we look at Jazzy Parr, right? So Jazzy Parr was signed to No Limit. Whether she still is or isn't, I don't know, right? But her last fight was on a smaller show, a smaller promotion. But what doesn't make sense to me is that you put Jazzy Parr on 2 mismatches, on 2 No Limit undercards. Everybody was complaining about those fights, right? You make those fights. But then the reason a lot of us, scratch our heads is because when she's going to fight May Solomon, you don't, or I think it's pronounced May or May. I don't know. Anybody can correct me if you want. But when that fight gets done, that's a legit fight. You don't put that fight on. Somehow the smaller promotional company gets it done somehow. Somehow they figure it out, right? When you put Jazzy Parr in there in May, right, with an opponent that was 9-9, you make that happen, right? But and then you put her on again. In fairness, it's an opponent with a better record. It looks like you're building upon something, and then when she's going to fight a real threat, you decide to not put it on, or what? Did you get outbid? That smaller promotion does not have more resources than you. They don't even have a TV deal in Australia. So what in the world's going on here? How does that happen? Those are the questions I'm asking. Those are the things I'm wondering, quite frankly. So those are my only thoughts on that. Like all I'm going to say is this, right? It's just an observation. I'm not here, right? I get that there's people that don't want to watch women's boxing at all, right? I also get that there's people that do want to see women's boxing. I'm not saying it should be a priority or the majority of what you do, right? But to go from your last show of the year last year, right? Like the women steal the show, to then you don't reward the women at all, and you just completely neglect having any women fighters on, right? It's a hell of a jump to me. Like it just is what it is. And at the end of the day, you tell me what's a successful show. Is it not like that's why you have social media page? Like why do you have a Twitter page? And why do you have an Instagram page? Well, why do you have a TikTok? If you don't have a goal to grow your profile as a promotional outfit, as a promotional company, right? How is it that these small promotional companies, right, are able to do more with less resources than you, right? You have the luxury of having a TV deal and all that to your credit, and a lot of that had to do with having the Zoo name behind you, right? So you have that ability, and what are you doing with it? You're not doing anything with it. Like you're literally not building off of anything. And the reality is you could do better. You have the resources to do better. Like don't give me this don't give me this response and this reply. Like, oh, thank you for, like, if that was a measure of success, then you tell me what the measure of success is. You tell me. if the Zoo name isn't on it, are your pay-per-views really popping like that, right? So I don't know if you want to talk about having the formula. I do think if why did you try to promote that weak ass slap at the weigh-in? Because you're trying to get social media clicks. So don't act above it, right? Like don't act like you weren't trying to get social media clicks with the sex appeal of Jazzy Parr. Like don't act like you're above it all of a sudden, right? But if you're getting social media clicks and attention, right, and all those things through women's boxing, I just don't see what the negative is to that. There's nothing wrong with that. You could build upon that, right? You're telling me you go from, ending the year with some great women fights to like all of a sudden you're not doing it whatsoever. I mean, it's a hell of a jump. It totally looks like you just gave up on women's boxing altogether. Because why? Because is it because Jazzy lost? Is that what it is? Doesn't make sense because I mean you brought her back for 2 more fights and then I don't know, like this is nuts. I'm sorry. This is crazy. And when you say things like, the MVP, they're doing great. Shout out to MVP. Like you're basically saying, no, we're going to let MVP do it. Like, we got no interest in this. Is basically what you're saying at the end of the day, right? One more thing, I'm going to wrap it up. Kaye Scott, okay? Here's what I want to say. And this goes to all fighters out there. Sometimes you don't need to react to or don't take personal people's analysis on things, right? Like there's no reason to take personal anything that's being said or done, right? So shout out to Al Bernstein. This is Al Bernstein right here. And we've been following each other on Twitter for years, right? But he's giving a shout out to Kaye Scott. Nothing wrong with that, but I all I did was kind of give my opinion, right, on the fact that this fight should not have been a title fight, and they just need to stop handing them out in these higher weight classes with women. And I get they have challenges, and I get that there's not in terms of numbers, they don't have big numbers in terms of a lot of talent up there, right? But they have enough talent to not be just giving them out, right? And Al Bernstein responds to me like he's shocked. Like why wouldn't it be a title? Like, what do you mean, bro? Do I need to be the one that points this out? It's one thing to disagree, but to act like you don't understand why anybody would say that, it's kind of nuts to me, right? So this is Kaye Scott's opponent. In 2023, beat a girl that was batting 500 in an 8-rounder. Then she loses to Shadisha Green. And then in the year 2024, she has a draw in a 6-rounder. And then somehow, against a girl that's 1-1, by the way, and somehow it's completely justifiable to put her in not only a title fight, but in a unification title fight. And then you're going to ask me like why wouldn't it be a title fight? Like, what do you mean? What are we doing here? Kaye Scott in the year 2024 beat a girl in a 4-rounder, making her pro debut. Lost to Desley Robinson. And then she fought for a title. Like, what are we doing here? And not only a title, like for 2 titles. A unification. Now, people may say, oh, you're the bad guy because you're pointing this out. I mean, okay, I'm the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy for pointing this out. All right. Al says, did you see the first fight? I mean, just because the fight's good doesn't mean it's supposed to be for a title, bro. A lot of fights are good. It doesn't mean it justifies it. He brings up the fact that Kaye Scott beat Desi Robinson a couple years ago, and that's supposed to justify this. Like, what are we doing? That's not how it works. Right? Like just because you won a couple years ago, in a very controversial win, by the way, it doesn't mean that that's it. Anytime you fight for a title, it's justified, even if you're coming off a loss, even if you're coming off several draws, like even if you're coming off beating somebody that was 1-1. Like what are we doing here? So I gave my thoughts here. Now, keep in mind that in giving these thoughts, I'm talking to Al Bernstein, right? That's who I'm talking to, right? And I feel like Kaye Scott, you know, took it a little personal. And I'll talk about how fighters need to stop taking shit personal, right? That's not personal. I didn't say anything personal about Kaye Scott. I'm talking about a professional boxing career. That's it. And I'm just laying out the facts. That's all I'm doing. That's all it is. I don't even know her. This is nothing personal, right? But she says, mate, don't be a hater. That's everybody's favorite word now. You're a hater. I'm a hater. Oh, okay, why am I a hater? Because I pointed out what I pointed out. That makes me a hater? That makes somebody a hater nowadays? The bouts were vacant. I know they were vacant. So? Does that make it any better? Clarissa vacated and went up weights. Gave the opportunity for fighters in the top 10 to fight for them. Okay? Desi won her 2 titles with them being vacant belts. It creates competition within a division when someone has them. Now, what fighters like Kaye Scott need to understand is, right? I've been covering the sport of boxing for over a decade. I understand how the sanctioning bodies work. I understand the politics behind it. I know shit from behind the scenes. I've heard some of the craziest shit. I know the politics behind it. So I understand what's going on here, but the reality is you're a fighter. Like it's your vantage point is different, right? It's about you, but it's not towards you. Don't take it personal. And she goes on. Who is more deserving? Both athletes ranked in the top 10, which is required. It's a normal process to be eligible. Yes, the depths of women's boxing is still building. These fights create more fights and people wanting a challenge for the belts. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. When stuff like this is done and people like me tell the truth, that's my job as an analysis, to analyze the sport of boxing and be objective. Anyone who's objective that looks at the facts behind this is going to objectively say, yeah, I don't know about that. In no other sport, like do athletes coming off losses get to compete for the world championship? Like that's not a thing like that, right? And it's kind of worse than that because it's several fights with draws, with losses, and you know what I mean. And in your opponent's case, it's even worse. So I'm trying to figure this out a little bit, right? And I go on. It's really not going at you, and this is why I don't think she understood. Maybe she does now, though, but I don't think she like. I think she was taking it personal. I think she thought I was targeting her, and just because it's her, I'm saying something, right? But for years before Kaye Scott even turned professional, right? I've always had an issue with fighters coming off losses, fighting for world titles, right? Like that's always been a critique of mine, especially if it's several losses, especially if it's a couple of draws and a loss, like especially then, especially if it's against an opponent that's not all that great. But I never get mad at the fighters. You're a fighter, I said. You're supposed to take the opportunities if they're there. I get it. If I was your manager, I'd tell you to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like all fighters would do the same. But since you're asking, my issue is with the sanctioning bodies being lazy with the process. They could have gotten it, and this right here is just an example. I came up with a better idea just like that. If they sat down and brainstormed this stuff, right? There's better ways to crown new champions than just having two random girls fighting for it. Coming off losses and draws. Don't tell me there isn't a better way. They could have gotten 4 girls, have a semifinal, then a final, then it gives them more credit. Rather than 2 random top 10 girls. Getting title shots after losses is something I always criticize, men or women, and the receipts are out there. Why were you 2 picked for the vacant belts? Now, I'm not mad at them. My beef is with the sanctioning bodies, quite frankly. I'm not mad at the fighters. Fighters need to stop looking at social media and taking everything personal when it's critiques. They need a better process, is my point. I'm coming at it from an analysis point of view, right? I went to BoxRec. It took me 3 seconds. I go to BoxRec and I look at this, right? They could have gotten 4 of these girls and done a little tournament or something. That's what they could have done. They could have said, well, Desi's the world champion, so she's going to be one of the fighters to fight for them. And if they would have done Kaye Scott against Desi, then it would have made more sense. But that's not what they did, right? There's no rule that says you got to do it now, immediately. If you don't have the talent pool for them, then too bad. It just is what it is. That's it, right? That is about it. Sure, Blight. Maybe there can be improvement. Well, she conceded a point, which I appreciate, right? I know that Des and Tam had a bout already scheduled with MVP at the time. Marciela just fought in August after having a baby and lost. But like, apparently losing doesn't disqualify. So well, what are we doing here, right? That's a great point, but like it's kind of ironic. I mean, am I the only one that I don't know? You know how irony works. Also, the problem of finding a promoter that will pay to have the fight on, not solve. I think she meant it's not easy, you know, for the women to get a promoter that will pay for it. But that's the point. Like I don't think she realizes how that sounds. Like, so basically your promoter paid so you two, his fighters, can fight for those vacant belts. So it's not based on merit. I mean, it's I don't know how to say that. Like what? Like I don't think sometimes these fighters understand what they're saying. Because your promoter had the money to pay for those 2 vacant belts, you got to fight for those belts. I mean, good for you. I don't blame you for it. I'm not condemning you for it, right? But I could side eye your promoter, and I could side eye the sanctioning bodies. So they're just going to go to the highest bidder, right? And I'll give you another example. Again, one of my favorite female fighters is Stephanie Hahn. Love Stephanie Hahn. Love her story. She's a police officer here. She's a, she's a mother. She's a fighter. She's a martial artist, right? She comes from a karate family here in El Paso, a boxing family, and I'm a huge fan of Stephanie Hahn. She got a title fight. Her title fight, or when she got her shot, was against a fighter that was coming off a knockout loss. And even though I love Stephanie Hahn, I still call that out. I wasn't taking that out on Stephanie Hahn, but the WBA was on some bullshit, right? And King's Promotion had the backing and money to help make that happen. But is that right? No. Is it Stephanie Hahn's fault? No. It's not the fighter's fault. All right? Fighters are supposed to seize any and all opportunities, right? It's like if at my job I get a promotion, who the fuck is anybody to tell me I don't deserve that promotion? Or if they want to say I don't deserve it, that's fine, but don't come at me about it. Of course I'm going to accept it. All of us have opportunities that get to come once in a while, right? Like whatever it is in life. Things fall in our lap, or we're just fortunate to be in a certain situation, and no one has a right to criticize us for it, right? But at the end of the day, it's not towards you. I'm not criticizing you, and as much as I love Al Bernstein, I mean, I sense some what's the word I'm looking for? Passive aggressiveness here. Shout out to Al. I love Al Bernstein, but I mean, Kay, your explanation is quite reasonable. Not that you are the one that even needs to make it. First of all, never once did I ask. I mean, you're implying that I was demanding answers from Kaye Scott. Never once said, hey, Kaye Scott, explain yourself. Why are you fighting for this belt? I don't blame her for taking the fucking title shot. They offered it to her. She should take it. I'm not mad at her. I never once said, explain yourself or give me an explanation. Right? She asked me questions. You guys, right? She was asking me questions. I wasn't asking her questions. I presented hypothetical questions, rhetorical questions. Like when I say, well, I mean, why do you guys, get to fight for the belt, but not these other girls? I know the answer to that. I'm not demanding answers from her. But she was asking me, who else deserves it? Who else? So I was responding to her. So I don't know why Al Bernstein's over here like caping, bro. Like, oh, you don't need to explain yourself. And she's the one that engaged with me. Like what have we done? Which is fine. I take none of it personal. I'm part of me is glad she responded because I could just tell her it ain't about you like that. You're part of the story of the girl that got the title shot, but my criticism is towards the sanctioning bodies. That's who I'm criticizing. It is what if I was a manager, if I was your manager, right, and somebody came up to me and said, hey, we're going to give, how about Kaye Scott gets to fight with these 2 vacant belts, right? You should fire me if I decline that. Oh, no, we're not going to do that, man. She's coming off a loss. We're not going to take that. Like, no, of course, the people backing you that are behind, they're supposed to take that shot. They're supposed to go for it. So I'm not criticizing you. I'm coming at it from the outside looking in. And I believe in real checks and balances, and I don't see the checks and the balances coming from the sanctioning body. You're doing what you need to do as a fighter. I'm not criticizing you. A lot of these fighters got to stop taking all this shit personal. It will be mute because you want to fight the best in the division. I never said she didn't want to fight the best. Before your career ends. Like it's the point is not mute, Al. We can't undo what the sanctioning body did here. Like it is what it is. It's not mute. And I never claimed otherwise about her wanting to fight the best. So I don't understand. These are indirect shots. Like, it just is what it is, but, I mean, I don't know what else you want me to say. So enjoy your titles and bask in the fact that you and Olivia gave boxing fans 2 fantastic fights, right? Never once did I say the fights weren't good. Never once did I criticize the fights. Never once. I didn't do any of that. I was just calling a spade a spade. Well, I was done. And apparently calling spades now. Apparently we can't call this out. Right? A spade's a spade at the end of the day. My final response. And I meant it 100%. At the end of the day, I stand by my opinion. There can definitely be improvements, so we can both agree on that. And nothing that I stated was hating or questioning of anybody's character. That was to Al Bernstein. It's a raw, honest opinion in a world where people either all they do is hate or don't question anything at all. I don't do either. And I hope the undisputed fight happens with that Desiree Robinson. It doesn't mean my opinion on how because at the end of the day, Kaye Scott was good enough to become world champion, unified, right? She would be good enough anyway, right? If I agree with Al, she wants to fight the best. Okay, so the sanctioning body should have done a better job in creating that pathway to keep some prestige of the belts and not diminish the prestige of the belts. This isn't something irreversible or nothing like that. She could fight Desley. They could have a big fight. I get all that. But it doesn't mean that I'm wrong about my opinion. At the end of the day, it's just my opinion. Right? And at the end of the day, sometimes somebody, and it's fitting to say this because it's Christmas season, has to be the one to tell people Santa isn't real. Right? Over the years, I've had fighters that took it personal if I predicted them to lose a fight, never wanted to come back to the show. I've had fighters that took it personal because I felt they lost the fight or I didn't score the fight for them. Right? And again, none of this is personal. This is just opinions, right? And we need objective observers that look at things from the outside looking in. Kaye Scott could feel however she wants to feel, but if Kaye Scott was in a winning streak, not coming off a loss, and 2 other random girls got a title shot after they were coming off draws and losses, something tells me she would be agreeing with me. Right? So I get how she feels like maybe I put her on the spot a little bit, right? But again, it's not meant to be taken personal. That's not what this is about at the end of the day. But I'm glad she responded, right? And at least, I think it was respectful. That's fine, right? Al Bernstein was a little too passive aggressive there, but he's Al Bernstein, so of course I'll give him a pass. You know what I mean? Shout out to Al, one of my favorite announcers of all time. All right. I like to see him announce more fights, actually, but at the end of the day, I'm the bad guy because I call spades. I know George Rose didn't like the constructive criticism I gave him, right? At the end of the day, you in my opinion, you drop the ball when it comes to women's boxing, right? You miss an opportunity, right, to showcase some female fighters out of Australia, right? In an age where there's a lot of female fighters right now being featured on other promoters, with other promoters, that is, right? And No Limit, the largest promotional outfit in Australia, can't put on some fights? What You're telling me you can't afford them? Is that what you're telling me? You like, and there's other things I know, by the way. Like it's just that I've been told from people that done promotional fights in Australia about how like the government will even hook you up and stuff if you do some women fights. I've heard about some of the pay you give it to some fighters. It's not like you're forking out a lot of money here. You know, and I'm not even like trying to go there, but at the end of the day, like you could have done better. You're telling me right now you can't look at the mirror and be like, you know what, I could have done better than this. I could have done a better job as a promoter to showcase, you know, some female fighters out of Australia. The best you had, I mean, so some of these women fights or whatever, bro, like this year. Like it's just the honest truth. You could do better. And you know you can. That's how you responded. Right? That's why you took the time to respond. And it's okay. And again, none of it's personal. None of it. Right? And I hear a lot of the critiques that people give Australian or No Limit from Australia. And I got to tell you, like, I think they have a great point. You have a TV rights deal over there. You got a bit, you have the zoo name that's helped carrying your company, and I like, so you have a lot of advantages over a lot of these other promoters. Yet somehow, like, just objectively speaking, it's not like your cards are blowing away these smaller promotional companies in Australia, and they should. But from a male aspect and a female aspect. You're supposed to be the golden standard, I would think anyway, right? In Australia. I'm just saying. And I used to work for a social media company, so I know the numbers for some of those female fights and those social media engagement that I got outside of your social media pages. Oh, thank you for coming to my social media page. It's just like brother. You would think that's what you want. Maybe it wasn't the results you wanted, but at the end of the day, who cares? You just bring them back. You know, so that's all I'm saying. If you're not going to reward the ones that put on a good show, bring you engagement, right? On social media, they put on great fights, don't disappoint the crowd, right? On undercard fights, if you're not going to reward that and bring those women back, why should any woman, any fighter, really, like, keep going through your cards? It doesn't appear like you have an incentive structure set up. It appears that you just wanted to fill up your cards when you're desperate and you need to fill up your cards. I mean, from an objective point of view, looking from the outside looking in, that's what it looks like. So it just is what it is. A couple more things. Shan O'Connell will be fighting Dargan. The fight was announced. It's going to be on a small card. They released Dargan a while back. Why, I don't know. Right? After Shan O'Connell did a last minute fight for them and then got head-butted and concussed and came back like about a month later and beat Jazzy Parr, you don't bring her back? I'm just looking from the outside looking in, right? I'm trying to understand here. She headlined the show. Yes, it was a small venue, but I mean, it did about the same numbers as the in terms of people there that the Matchroom card did, right? So it's not like that far off. And this is somebody who could put on an undercard against Dargan, and you know that's going to be a good fight. Will probably win Australian Fight of the Year. So I'm just trying to understand, like, what's going on here. Like, at the end of the day. So Jazzy Parr didn't come back. Why not? Like I just don't get it, right? Desi Robinson was signed by MVP, but you had no plans to bring her back. She had her other title she won it on another small card in Australia. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, a lot of it doesn't make sense. Like, it's you're not above. It's one thing if you never put on women fights, right? But when you put on mismatches this year, and it was a few of them, and competitive ones you could have had, you didn't put on. It doesn't make sense. And then just giving vague answers like, well, social media clicks was all that mattered. You know, like, what does that even mean? What does that mean? That's all I'm saying. All right. With that said, I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Shout out to Tony Boswell, Remy, all you guys, Haplotype. And I'm out of here. Peace.